Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It's myself, Legendary Vash, here to give you the Stampede rundown of the night of the show. Yes, you see me, I'm in my car. I didn't get to watch SmackDown, but I'm going to give you the rundown for the show for Weebs of the Ring, episode 67. And you know what that means? We have, as every Friday night, we start off with Grappling with the Week. We have the Contract Corner. Russo, we have KO contract ending. We have Dustin Rhodes contract with AW ending this month. Zilla Fatu done with GCW. I'm extremely sad because I was gonna see him in 2 weeks or next week. So that's one big sad news for me. Samoa Joe is gonna be in a new Yakuza game. Raw SmackDown 3 hours. What do you guys think about it? NXT meetup. How is that? What did you guys think about it from this past Tuesday? Did you guys enjoy NXT? Are you hearing in the hype stuff that's going to be coming for the CW? But for the SmackDown show coverage, we have the headline story. The Bloodline Story continues. We have Cody and Roman seeing eye to eye. What did you guys think about the cinematic view, the story? What do you guys think about it? KO and Street Profits DIY versus the Bloodline. What do you guys think about that? Were you hyped? And the mid-card story, we have the U.S. title match of LA Knight versus Andrade. And then we have Giovanni Vinci versus Apollo Crews. Sleeper matches from what I heard. And then we have the Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton versus Bayley and Naomi. The women's matches are cooking. Have you been enjoying it? Let us know down in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe if you're new, and if you enjoy the Stampede, without further ado, let's hear the host, the co-host, and let's start the damn fucking show.
Oh, Nick. It's Friday night. We're here to sing. We're gonna do our wonderful thing. We're here to talk about the graps, and we're gonna do some wonderful smacks. That's right. It's SmackDown. That's right. I can rap real good. It's SmackDown. It's Friday night, and I'm gonna stop because I can't really do freestyle rapping right there. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. I see some of our normal clientele in the chat here. We got Vash's fan making his continuous debut, and of course, Pizza Pool here making some great suggestions for us. Don't worry, Pizza. We're going to be inviting some wrestlers to talk with us eventually, one of these days. But hey, those are for all the people that normally check us out on the weekly. What about some of you new people out there checking us out? Well, just let you know who we are really quick. With anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control, we are a trio of weebs who love the entertainment of professional wrestling. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling events of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all nerds. So grab your steel chair, yell for the table, and get put through an experience unlike any other. Brought to you, of course, by AniMa W3 Studio. This is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. I am 1/3 of your host tonight, your world champion Hawkins here, enjoying the old Friday night. And over to my right tonight, we have the legend himself, Vash, or Bash as he's going tonight. Vash, how you doing tonight? If he's still there, unless he's not still there. If he's not still there, then I'm gonna move. Ah, there's Bash.
Oh, there we go.
He showed up just in time. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm here. I'm good. I just want to say it's glad to be here. Give you the Stampede, even though I couldn't make it to the show. I want to say I appreciate for everyone tuning into our show for Weebs of the Ring. And
I don't think Triple H likes him.
No.
Maybe
Bash is stuck on Fox right now.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. It's all those bad words he's using, all those bad
Yeah.
words, those horrible gestures,
Gotta
like
take off the Wolverine shirt.
Yes, I'm back. I'm gonna keep it simple. I appreciate for everyone tuning in. I will be watching from the YouTube show. Have a good show, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you guys in the chat.
Yes. Thank you for the Stampede, Vash. And of course, as always, we've got our genius of the mat right now. It is Drop This Box. Drop, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing pretty good.
Good, good, good. Man. So yeah, glad to see you guys here on our wonderful Friday night show. Looking forward to talking about the wrestling, talking about the graps, and what better way to kind of start our evening than talking about the week itself as we had to grapple with that. That's right, it's grappling with the week, the short little fun side quest, if you will, before we talk about SmackDown every week, where we talk about some of the wrestling events or news that we saw throughout the week, some things that might have been piqued our interest, if you will. A few things. We actually had a lot of things going on this
Yeah,
week.
actually, really
Not
did.
just oh my gosh, yes, like from like contract signings to like people making cameos in video games to all the things that happen in NXT. But you know what? Let's start with our contract corner, I think, because like
Mm,
there was a lot of contract news that even
especially with
just
that
came
one.
out today.
Yeah, especially with
So
that one too, like spread out from like Monday all the way up until now.
oh my gosh, yes. Gosh, where do we even begin with this? I guess the first one is just the first one here. Rusev, well, formerly known as Rusev, now going by Miro, he wants out of his AEW contract. And I saw a couple things coming out earlier today. Like apparently his contract's still up until like I think like April of like 2026, I think.
Yeah,
Last I saw. So
yeah,
I don't know
I
what
did see
what do you
that.
what do you think of this?
Well, personally, like based on what I've seen, he hasn't really been used on the product that much. Like I believe the last time that I recall seeing Miro on television, or I should probably say pay-per-view, was
Hmm.
that match he had with Andrade when Andrade was on his way out, because you guys
Yeah.
probably remember towards the end of the year, last year for World's End, you had Andrade versus Miro, then Miro ended up winning that match. And that was pretty much Andrade's like bye-bye match
Hmm.
until he appeared at the Royal Rumble like we saw late in January. But yeah, that's honestly the last time, at least from what I can remember, because I would have seen it more frequently since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been the last time we've seen Miro. And based on like the sort of conversations that I've seen and based on what I've seen from my own point of view, he hasn't really been used on television like I mentioned earlier. So the way
Hmm.
I look at it is if he isn't happy where he's at and he wants to go down a different direction, he wants to do things to benefit himself, because you also have to keep in mind, he's recently going through a divorce, so that's probably something that's had a big toll on him. So that
Yeah.
could also explain why he was away from television, which makes sense, because it's human when you build a relationship with somebody over the years, and if things end up going wrong and you want to take
Hmm.
some time off to just process everything, that's completely understandable. But
Yeah.
I would just think, if he's requesting for his release, and since he's not being used, just getting to the main point, I would just let him go, because they're already, I mean, the talent, I'm just gonna say this, like like Tony Khan has a lot of talent on there to begin with. So
Hmm.
with Miro leaving, it's not gonna really like do anything to really affect him, because he still has all these other people on there that he could, build with whatever sort of plans that he has structured in his head. So I would just let Miro leave, honestly. And
Yeah.
I personally saw it coming, because it's just been like a thing I noticed when I was watching AEW. Like same thing with Andrade. I wasn't really happy with how he's booked. It's almost like both of those guys had like a similar story when it comes to them in AEW, where it's like they're not really happy with where they're at, but they're stuck there because of the contract. And I know Tony Khan has like granted releases before because
Yeah.
we recently saw it with one of the Lucha Brothers, which we'll go over next. Spoiler right there.
Mhm.
But I would just let him go.
Yeah.
Just personally.
And
I mean, if
and
it
what's
was up
funny,
to me, I would.
Oh yeah, same here. I mean,
He's
like
a great
a lot of
wrestler,
the
don't get me wrong.
oh yeah, like he's a great talent to have on your roster, and like that's what sucks overall about like his time with AEW. It's like he went in there and people were like so hyped, like me included, were so hyped for him to like finally get a chance to capitalize on what he couldn't in WWE with them
Mhm.
basically burying Rusev Day and all that.
Yeah, and
But
that
it's
was
like,
incredibly over too.
oh my god, dude! If he comes back to WWE, I can almost guarantee there might be a resurgence of Rusev Day.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I actually expect him to go down there.
mhm.
To be honest.
um, but like what's funny is that like the last I'm glad you brought up that last match of Andrade's and kind of the last match that he had, I think, or he might have had a match here or there on like Collision or something, but like the last notable match, I guess,
Yeah.
was his match with Andrade, which also involved his now ex-wife CJ Perry,
Mhm.
which you see what happened with all three of them after that match. Like, Andrade left the company. CJ Perry's been MIA from the company. Like, there's
Yeah.
been no word on her, I don't
No, I
think.
haven't seen anything. No.
Yeah. And then Miro, I mean, he hasn't been really doing anything. I think the last thing I heard about him was I think he did go home for a bit with some family,
Yeah, he
which
went back to Bulgaria, right?
yeah, I think so. So like he was there for a bit, and I mean, I guess kind of the same thing what you were saying, just like kind of maybe wanting to take some time to kind of refresh from all the stuff that was going on in his personal life, but like at the same time, nothing was really coming out about like stories or any bookings either, because like that's the thing. It's like he was ready to come back at a certain point, but nothing was coming
Mm-hmm.
out. Like I remember hearing reports too that like he was apparently like saying no to a lot of stories and all that. Yeah, like a lot of that stuff was going around too, which you kind of don't want things like that going around. But I mean, at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, if you're not liking what you're getting pitched, why do it then?
Yeah, because I heard there's like I mean based on things that I've heard online, like same thing with like Ricky Starks, where I guess
Hmm.
apparently there was supposed to be a thing with between him and Big Bill,
Yeah.
and they wanted to do something. I think it was for Starks to go over,
I
but
think so.
he
Yeah.
wanted Big Bill to get that recognition that he deserves.
Yeah.
So he didn't really go down that direction, which is I don't know because I'm not the obviously I'm not the talent, but
Yeah.
based on what I've seen, that probably could explain why he's not on AEW television because they can't really figure out a set plan for him. So I assume it's probably the same thing with Miro, which just the way to look at it in general, like once you have that release from WWE or you have that release from AEW or TNA, I wouldn't say release, but let's say your contract expires and stuff.
Yeah.
Normally when you enter a new company like you went over, that's pretty much like your new chapter to do things that you wanted to do
Hmm.
before. And we knew that Miro had a lot of potential and we wanted to see that in AEW, and it was off to a good start. And just like Andrade, it had its little hot run for a little bit, but then they just didn't really
Tony.
put that much focus in it.
That's when Tony got a new shiny toy and was just like, I don't want to play with you anymore. And then drops him into the toy box along with many of the other talent that TK kind of does that with. But like with some of the talent that TK couldn't keep, we got the official confirmation that the Lucha Bros are heading over to WWE. So, like, I guess they put pen to paper with them. So that's awesome. That's great. And not only that, but like the report that followed with that was that WWE has already started making merchandise for them, and not just like, oh, your own plain little t-shirts and all that. No, apparently they've already started making masks for these guys, which is kind of crazy when you start thinking about, these guys were, because they were with AEW, I believe since the beginning too. Like they were with
Yeah,
them for a
they're OG
long
guys.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're OG
And
guys.
it's like the whole time they were with AEW, why were there never masks sold? Like that is such an easy uh and like you don't have to make a lot of them, you could make some really good ones and sell them for like $500 because hey, people
Yeah.
will buy them. Don't worry, they will find a way to buy them. But
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, how do you waste that kind of money? Like look at the money Ray makes just from the mask alone,
I know.
and WWE's always craving to get their new Ray Mysterio. And I mean, they kind of have it with Dragon Lee,
We're
but
just not really seeing it being used to its full potential. That's what I've
exactly.
noticed.
And that's why I think like with the Lucha Bros coming to WWE, I think that'll be like a good kicker. Maybe
Yeah.
first of all, don't lump them in with LWO, please. I
No.
beg you. I beg you.
Or
Don't
Legado
do
del
that.
Fantasma.
Maybe feud with Legato, but
Yeah.
honestly, like just
I
have them
heard
do
they
their
are
own
supposed to be
thing.
going to the main roster
I
because
did hear that too.
I do
Yeah.
believe it was part of their contract that
Hmm.
they wanted to be put onto the main roster when they came up,
Yeah.
which
Which I mean
obviously
is
makes
fine.
which makes sense because if you want to get your hands on a certain talent, you want to make sure that you meet the requirements and
Hmm.
everything could be packaged correctly when it comes to the overall agreement between both of them.
Yeah. Now, I guess that kind of transitions into a fun little question. With them going to the main roster and another tag team in Motor City Machine Guns going to NXT, what do how do you feel about like those two teams kind of splitting off like that? Because like I know a lot of people online hated the fact that the Motor City Machine Guns are not going to be on the main roster immediately, and that they're going
Yeah.
to be on NXT instead. So
Hmm.
I'm wondering what are your thoughts with that? Because like me personally, I don't mind that because, well, for one, they're grown adults; they could do whatever whatever the hell they want.
Mm.
So if they feel like, oh, we'll be fine here, then we'll be fine here. But like I do see, I guess, the criticism with that, where it's just like, okay, they've been around for a while now. And
Hmm.
there was a couple tweets too I was saying that was just like, oh yeah, they've revolutionized tag team wrestling. A lot of people, kind of use them as the basis for a lot of the stuff that they do. And I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but like, I don't know, how do you feel about like these two teams and just their different trajectories going into WWE?
So when it comes to the Motor City Machine Guns,
Hmm.
one thing I will say is we don't know for certain that it could have been something that they wanted to do on their own. Like maybe they
Yeah.
wanted to go down to NXT to get used to the system, to work with young
Hmm.
talent, because you got to look at it like this. They are veterans in the game. They've been around for quite some time, like we discussed. So you never know if they wanted to go down there to help mold the division for all of those upcoming stars that's in NXT. Like you look at Fraxium, for example, which I feel
Hmm.
like once we get that CW show, you're more than likely going to be seeing them debut after their match. That's my prediction right there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're probably waiting to debut them in one of those CW shows, and wherever Fraxium is, it's more than likely where you're going to see the debut. But
Hmm.
like I said, they could go down there for that very reason because they want to help mold the talent down there. So I'm completely okay with that.
Hmm.
And you also got to look at it from a perspective like this as well, because when people say that, like I'll use examples for like talent that's already down there and then talent that we'll probably end up seeing soon. So Julia recently made her debut at No Mercy, And we know that she's currently in a feud with Roxanne, and she has a match with Roxanne for the NXT Women's Championship on the premiere episode on the CW for NXT. And a lot of people were saying, just like her, she's very talented. We know what she's capable of. She could be put onto the main roster. You never know if she wants to be a leader for that division down there and help mold them for the future. Because since this is a new era for a lot of these for NXT, they might want to use Julia as a pillar to build that CW era to lead it down a new direction. So you look at all these different pillars. You got like, okay, you got Julia being the pillar for that women's division in the CW era. You got the Motor City Machine Guns being that pillar for the tag division in that era. And then let's say, for example, if they want to use Ethan Page, whoever comes out on top into that match between him and Trick, they might want to use Ethan Page to build that era, or they might want to use Trick Williams again to build up that era. All the stars might be aligning for a reason, because that's how they want things to be set. And it's not a bad thing to go down there to get used to the system, because you got to keep in mind all these people come from different places. So however they wrestled over here, it's a little bit different over here. So at least with them getting that blueprint in their head, they understand like, okay, this is where I have to do this and that in order for things to line up accordingly. And so that's like my reason behind like the Motor City Machine Guns, because maybe they want to do the same thing. I don't see it being a thing where they're going to be down there for 1 to 2 to 3 years. I probably see it like a Dragon Lee situation where it's like a good 6 months or so, and then they're going to be on the main roster. Like I wouldn't be surprised by next year once we get the draft, because the draft ends up being like an annually thing. We'll probably end up seeing them get called up in the draft.
Yeah.
And with the Lucha Brothers, I do know that they, like we went over, they want to go to the main roster. So my only thought process with that, and I'm not against it, but my only thought process with that is I hope they have a set game plan, because that's why I'm not against people going to NXT, because at least they have a lot of room to do whatever they want. But on the main roster, you want to make sure that there's like a set thing for them to do, not just lumping them up there. So I'm hoping there's like a set plan for them to insert themselves into. I can understand why they want to be on the main roster, because they know what they're capable of and they want to show that off to the audience. So I can't blame them for making a decision like that, because hey, you want to get me, you got to get me to the main roster, just like Cody. You want to get me, you got to bring my song with me too. It's just all part of like how they handle these contracts nowadays. But my only concern with that is hopefully they have a set game plan.
Yeah, and I hope so too, and I'm pretty sure they will, because I mean we're still in like the early stages of like this new regime, as people want to keep spouting with and all that. So yeah, we're still in the early stages of it all, and like they're finding out what works, what doesn't work, how to handle talent and all that. And I think one thing that's helping with like especially somebody like Motor City Machine Guns is the fact that NXT is doing this partnership with TNA, and I'm pretty sure Motor City Machine Guns have had some history in TNA. So like there's a good bridge right there too, where it's like, okay, we're gonna be, down here with some of the, the developmental people and all that, but it's like what you hinted at too, is just like we're trying to get used to the WWE's way of things, and that's a good way to do it, So, but like I want to lump these next two guys together, because I feel like they're kind of the same when it comes to the companies that they're in and just where they're at in their companies, or like they walk a very similar path. So KO's contract, Kevin Owens, his contract ends at the end of the year, and apparently Dustin Rhodes' contract with AEW ends like in this month, like in September and all that. So it's like, okay, people will speculate till the end of the day on, is KO gonna resign? He can go to AEW and have this dream match and have that dream match and all that. And like with Dustin, it's like, okay, he could leave AEW, he could get put into the Hall of Fame of WWE and get on a Legends deal with WWE and all that, but like I really don't see either man really leaving their respective companies.
Mm,
I feel like KO's very comfortable where he's at, and I think that this conversation came up the last time his contract was running up. It's like, okay, he could go to AEW and do all this stuff and all that stuff, and then like he resigns with the company, and he ends up main eventing WrestleMania against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like
yeah,
he got made with that one, and also like him I feel like around that time too, he had an interview where he stated that, he's very comfortable where he's at. He kind of wants to
yeah.
end his career in WWE. And it's
Hmm.
like he's made all these connections with these people within the company, like backstage and all that. It's just like, how do I leave those people
Yeah.
just like that?
I do remember one thing that was being brought up that a lot of people are saying, like how he wants to make more time to he wants to make more time for his family. I don't know if you've seen that being brought up online,
Hmm.
but one of
Yeah.
the things I will say towards that, and Randy Orton is a perfect example to bring up for what I'm about to say. When Randy Orton was interviewed, I don't remember who interviewed him. If anybody knows on the chat, you should have let me know. But I do recall Randy Orton recently having an interview where he was asked about, how he enjoys the current product. And one of the
Yeah.
things that he said is that he likes how it's not restrained as much as it used to be. So if you wanted to take some time to spend with family, you can do that. If you have something that came up, you can do that because Triple H is very understanding of that. Obviously, he's a father, he has kids of his own, he has a wife, so he understands all of that. I mean, Triple H recently went to I think he recently did something with his daughter because she was going into
Hmm.
college. So it's like when important stuff like that come up, Triple H is very understanding. So if KO signs a new deal, obviously, if there's anything that KO wants alongside the new deal that he has, obviously Triple H is going to grant it to him. So I do see people bringing up the whole family thing that he really wants to do, but Randy
Hmm.
Orton made it clear as day. Oh yeah, Natalia also. That's a
Okay.
good point you bring up. Natalia also brought that up as well. Is that everything feels different now. So I'm pretty sure KO could get what he wants. So I'm not really
Yeah.
worried about in that regard. I mean, at the end of the day, it is up to him when it comes to the sort of decision that he wants to do because I'm a fan of KO. So wherever he goes, I'm going to continue to support him.
Yeah.
But I feel like, at least from my perspective as of now, I feel like he probably will remain for the company because we will get into what we recently saw of KO tonight. Because trust me, we're going to be talking a lot about KO in
Yeah.
this episode
Oh yes.
of Weebs of the Ring. So this is this KO definitely is going to be getting a lot of love in this episode. And
Hmm.
this also actually could relate to the whole contract thing as well when it comes to his current character moving forward, which we'll get into a little bit later. But those are my own thoughts on that. When it comes to Dustin, I feel like he could very well stay in AEW if he really wants to. He seems very comfortable
Hmm.
there with what he's doing. It's not like when Cody left, he rushed to be there with Cody. Like
Yeah.
just saying, "Oh my God, my brother went to WWE again. I might want to go back over there and be with him and do something, whatever it is." But with Dustin, I feel like he's probably comfortable where he's at, but I'm not 100% sure. Uh, as much as a hypothetical, if he wants to come to WWE, more than I am with KO when it comes to the sort of relationship I have with KO.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, but
No,
we'll
it
just have
does.
to wait and
Like,
see.
yeah, and I mean with Dustin, like Dustin's a little bit more of like a wild card with it, mainly because of those Legends deals that WWE likes
Yeah,
to
they've been doing
do.
that a lot frequently. I think I saw one of Ken Shamrock recently.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, he signed a new Legends deal, and we got one with Armando Alejandro Estrada, who signed a Legends deal. So maybe we're gonna get a new Wise Man soon. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, Dustin's one of those wild cards because like he could do anything because like he's in the point of his career where it's like he's he's giving back a lot more than taking for himself. So, and he's doing really well with that in AEW. So it's like, okay, he could continue doing that, or he could just end up retiring and doing the whole wrestling school thing that I'm pretty sure he's doing anyways. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that one. That one will come a lot sooner because again, I'm from what I heard, that one's up like within this month. So
Yeah.
we'll see with that one. And then this next one came at us during SmackDown. We had
Yeah. You might have
Zillifa
to explain
2.
that one to me because I'm a little confused on that one.
Yeah. So like, okay. I'll try to find the tweet because like it came out with a tweet where apparently like the company he was with, I think it was GCW, they came out with a tweet saying that Zillifa 2 was not going to be at the next show coming up, nor was he going to be at any other shows coming up. Actually, hold on. Let me first of all, while I'm looking this up, if you want to like give your thoughts on like this whole like I guess quick thoughts on like Zilla Fatu if he's gonna be
Yeah.
WWE bound and what you think he
Um,
would be doing, and I'll give more context when I find this tweet here.
So like when I'll just explain like my
Yeah,
initial
yeah.
reaction when I saw the news. So when I saw it at first, I thought it only meant okay, he's just canceling dates for that show, so he's not going to appear there anymore because that's how I initially saw it when I first saw it online on Twitter when I was scrolling through Twitter when I saw the news pop up for the first time. So that's what I thought, but I guess a lot of people are saying okay, he's canceling his shows. He's not going to be appearing in any other events because I do believe, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, he was supposed to be at a House of Glory show.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that's not in a cards anymore. I'm not sure if it's just MCW
Yeah. All
or
right. I found it. So this was a tweet from Game Changer Wrestling, good old GCW. Zilla 2 will not be appearing on tonight's GCW event in Philly or any GCW shows for the foreseeable future. We tried our best to avoid this situation, but we have reached an impasse. We wish him the best. And then they go on to say Matt Tremont will now face Slade tonight at GCW Aura in Philly. So yeah, it sounds like they may have been trying to work a deal with him
yeah.
and it ended up falling through or falling out. I guess that doesn't sound like anything bad happened.
No, it might seem like he wants to move on. That's how it seems like to me. So I mean, so I guess when it comes to the House of Glory thing, I guess that could still be in the cards. It might just be with that
Hmm.
certain company. Like maybe he wants to be one of those people like Matt Cardona, where he's just hopping from place to place. Maybe he doesn't want to
Yeah.
be tied down. Well, I can't really say he's tied down because he was that because a lot of people in independent promotions hop from place to place. But
Hmm.
the only thing I could really say just to break it down, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with
Yeah.
more information that comes out. Do I see him in WWE in the future? Obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait until we get more news on it before we have like
Okay.
a full on conversation because it is still fresh, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
go
Because
off of as of
literally,
now.
it was like right when SmackDown started. Like I think it was around the time when they were starting like the face to face with Roman and Cody and all that. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll just have to see. We'll have to wait for more information to come out. So quick other things. I'm just gonna kind of speed run a couple of these ones. It got announced that so the new Yakuza game, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, Samoa Joe's gonna be in it, and the screenshot I saw of it, oh, he looks so good in it, dude. It's
mm.
it's gonna be a fun one.
I've never played Yakuza, so I can't really give too many
Mhm.
thoughts on that.
I played a little bit of Yakuza 0. I really should
Yeah.
go back to it. It was fun. Um, but
Yeah, like
I'm just
I know what
excited.
it is. I just haven't really
Yeah,
played it.
yeah. So I haven't played enough of it to be like, oh, I can't wait. But it's just like it's cool just because like with the crossover thing and all that. I just like when wrestlers are in my video games and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Now this one, I'm gonna try not to have a huge conversation about it, but yeah. So this week, some news came out regarding our shows of Raw and SmackDown. So Raw at the beginning of next year is going to be on Netflix, and a lot of people are like, okay, is it going to stick to the 3 hour format? Is it going to be like going back to the 2 hour format since we're getting that like in October now? But apparently that's going to be more of like an Amoebus kind of timeline with it. So it's like, okay, this week it's like 3 hours. This week, the other week it's like 2.5 because we don't have a lot of stuff going on or, anything like that. But SmackDown apparently is going to be 3 hours long. And on one hand, great. We're going to, spend some more time with the roster that's on SmackDown and all that, give them some of their opportunities and everything. But then on the other hand, when you look at it, when it comes to WWE, if you watch both Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, that is now 8
8 hours.
hours, 8 hours of wrestling a week. And that's on a non pay per view week. Like,
Yeah, so you can only imagine. So pay per views normally maybe like 3 to 4. I would say 3 hours.
yeah.
So you got Raw, SmackDown, that's 6. Then you got the pay per view, and that's a 9 now. So now you're almost looking at like 11 hours.
And as much as I love doing content, oh, a 3 hour SmackDown talking about it, that's gonna be interesting. But like, and I mean, I think we've talked about it before. It's like, okay, at least the 3 hours aren't as painful as they used to be.
Yeah, because before they
But
just threw stuff, and
yeah,
it was kind of hard to digest back then. But it's like the only things I can say about this is that at least with Raw, they have a more flexible schedule because now they don't have to worry about any, I don't know, like news or
yeah,
some movie, whatever, how it was back then. They don't really need to have any restrictions anymore because now they're on Netflix. So if they want to end a little bit early after they get everything done, they can, because they're not going to have to worry about, okay, we got to rush it out so we can end this off because, oh, there's a new episode of this premiering. We got to get it
yeah,
off the air. Like, at least now, like I said, they have more flexible schedule. And then with SmackDown, my only issue with that, is I hope they have a set game plan with this, because I don't want you doing the extra hour just because you want the extra hour for ad revenue, because I know
yep,
that's the reason why. I want to make sure that you have a set game plan when you're heading into this. So we're not just doing this for nothing. Like, if you want to use that hour, use that hour. You want to have a 3 hour show, make sure you're using your talent accordingly in order to get it done. And just like Watkins says, I don't mind coming on here and talking about what happens within a 3 hour show, because we do it every single week at Raw. But I'm just
yeah,
hoping there's a set game plan, because that matters the most out of all of this. Instead of just jumping in here blind and just having everything thrown at us, I like how there's a set game plan when it comes to these sort of things. That way I can wrap my mind around it a little bit easier and be like, okay, I'm okay with that.
yeah, exactly. And like, and I said this in our group chat too. Like, I think the perfect time for a weekly wrestling format would be that 2.5 hour mark. Because what
Yeah.
so look at SmackDown last week. SmackDown went over by like 10-15 minutes or so. And it really didn't feel too bad, did it?
No.
Yeah. So like even if you tack on like another 10 minutes to that, that gives you at least like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And like I feel like that's a perfect amount of time where like you can get a lot of your roster on there. You can push a lot of stories, and the show doesn't feel like it has a huge dip in it. And even though we've been praising, Raw being better than it had been, there are times where it does dip a little bit, and you're like, okay, did we really need like 4 Judgment Day segments that all basically said the same thing? Like, do
See
we
this
need that?
See, this is what I'm hoping. When we enter 2025, we got everything all laid out. Raw is on
Mhm.
Netflix, NXT is on CW, and then obviously we have SmackDown on USA. I'm hoping once we enter the new year, We know what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah, and I think with the 2-hour Raws we're about to get,
Yeah.
I think those are
Yeah.
going to be a good like little playground
Yeah.
for Triple H to be like, okay, how can I do things, and like think about what he could change and all that, and how he can make his
Yeah.
shows better and all that, you know.
Yeah, because I remember people bringing up stuff that Triple H used to do back in the Black and Gold days,
Hmm.
where I believe it was only like a 1 hour show, and
Yeah.
every time, like not every week, you saw the same people. Sometimes they were on that week, sometimes they were on the following week. He just made
Hmm.
sure to get certain things done that needed to be done for that set show. And the next week, okay, I
Yeah.
could see Johnny Gargano on there, I could see Tommaso Ciampa, or I can see Andrade, or
Yeah.
I could see um whoever on there for that said week. So it's like,
And also
yeah,
if they're not on the show, there's at least like some sort of video package going on.
yeah, or a
So like
backstage segment.
exactly. So it's like, you're still pushing something, you're still doing something
Yeah,
with them.
yeah,
Or, they also like to do their like main event tapings, the speed tapings and all that now. Like they
yeah.
do those too, like before the shows and all that. And it's like,
Hmm.
see that's what I was trying to mention earlier with like Miro and all that. It's like, even if he's not getting booked on the main show, he's still getting booked to do his job. Like you're still
Yep.
getting booked to go out there and perform and all that. Like, I mean, say
Hmm.
whatever you guys want about like the speed stuff, but like they're still getting work. Like they're not just sitting on their butts, not getting on like Raw or SmackDown, which don't get me wrong, I would love some of those people on Raw and SmackDown, but it's like at least they're still getting something. It might not be a lot, but they're entering that grind now that Triple H wanted to mention way back when.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then I guess the last, unless you had anything else to add with the whole new time segments for those shows.
No, I
Um
pretty much said everything.
okay, were there any highlights from NXT you wanted to bring up?
The only highlights I can really say is we know that CM Punk is going to be a special guest referee in Trick
Mhm.
and Ethan Page's match on the premiere show. So we do know that. I mean, obviously he's going to be getting a lot of attention because he is a Chicago boy.
Oh yeah.
We know that Javon Evans and Randy Orton is set for the following week, which kudos to Javon Evans. I mean, that right there
Yes.
tells you that they're really high on him, knowing how they have a
Mhm.
match with knowing how he has a match with not Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. And I did recently, I know somebody asked in the chat before when it comes to us, Pizza Pool, I believe you mentioned how we should interview wrestlers. I did reach out to Devon Evans to see if he wanted to be on here. If he doesn't, that's fine.
Yeah.
But because obviously they have, schedules, they're busy and stuff. But I did reach out to him, seeing if he wanted to come on here, talk about his time in WWE, how he's enjoying it, how he feels going up against Randy Orton. But that
Yep.
definitely is a very big moment for him. So I am very happy because when you see moments like that, like I said, it's done for a reason because they see this
Mhm.
guy as like their next star that they want to push to the moon.
Yeah.
So I am very happy about that.
Okay.
But and
Perfect.
the only last thing to really bring up is that there's supposed to be a press conference next week at
Oh
NXT.
yeah. I did hear about that. So I'm hoping that's a little fun. Hopefully we're thoroughly sports entertained with that one.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think we've kind of grappled with this week long enough. I think it's time to get
Yes, we
into
have.
our main course, our big oh, excuse me, as I got a little burpy gassy there, everybody. We're gonna head on out to our headline stories, and this one has two parts with it because we're building up to this big bloodline tag team match with Cody and Roman going up against Jacob Fatu and Solo Sokoa, and we had a pretty excellent video package here where
Oh
Cody and
yeah.
Roman met eye to eye, face to face inside the stadium where Roman played college football at, and Cody being an Atlanta boy and all that, like he's there, he's home, and all that. So they had a nice face to face and kind of
Oh
tried
yeah,
to get on the
the
same
Georgia
page
Tech,
with it all.
the Georgia Tech University.
Yeah. Um, this it's nice to see cinema back. Like,
Mm.
it's nice to see some cinema back because, like, this was a good interaction between the two. I thought because it's like, okay, we're getting what's going through Roman's mind right now. Just like, I need to beat these guys. Like, I don't have anything. I lost everything. Like, they took everything from me. They took my Ulafala. They took my cousin. They took my wise man. Like, they took everything from me, and they're not willing. Like,
Took his whole
they're willing
country.
to lose it all. Yeah, like they don't care. They just want to have it all, even if they want to lose, like, can lose it. But it's like, I like too how, like, there's a power struggle here. Like, I kind of think back to, like, the whole the Mega Powers thing with, like, Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, where it's like, okay, this isn't like the same relationship, but it's the same kind of energy we're getting, where it's like two massive stars of the era are coming together to face off
Yep.
against a threat and all that. And like,
Yep.
there's this big power struggle between the two. And it's exactly what I was hoping it was going to be. Because, like, again, Roman is the tribal chief. Like, he's the original one. He's not Solo here. He's not the Temu bloodline, if we want to go that route. But it's like, Cody is the WWE champion. He's the one, he's the face of the company. Like, it is his company, it is his ring. And they just need to come together and beat up the bloodline. And after that, hey, I'm coming for you. So
Mhm.
I like how we're not escaping from this, and I like all the callbacks that we were getting. Again, I thought this was just a class segment that they had.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed this segment. Like this is something I wanted because obviously jumping into this originally, I did see that there was a lot of conversation online where a lot of people aren't really fond of Cody and Reigns
Hmm.
teaming up, which I can understand. But I did go over it next week because I know some people were saying, well, Cody said earlier in the show that he didn't want to take any part with the bloodline anymore, but then he appears towards the end. And the only reason why Cody really did come out, because if Roman didn't say that, this is my W, this is my ring, yada, this, yada, yada, that, then Cody would have just stayed back there and did his own thing. It's the fact that Roman's trying to claim things that aren't there anymore. And Cody came out there with a case saying, I beat you at WrestleMania. I pretty much took everything away with you. Like he even did a callback, which I'm glad he did bring this up when they had that segment with each other tonight, where he's like,
Hmm.
remember that first conversation I had with you where you're going to be a chief without a tribe? I mean, look what's happening right now. And I like how we have 2 years of story getting that callback because I do remember hearing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people at first are saying, "Oh, Cody's just saying that because he's trying to act tough." And in the way that I'm talking right now, it's not me trying to, put over Cody by any means. Not in like in a bad way, but people might have just said, "Oh, that's just tough talk." But you
Hmm.
literally saw it play out because if you looked at how Roman's character was structured back then, because of the way that he treated everybody, that was going to eventually happen to him. It's pretty
Yeah.
much like karma. You treat all these people bad, they're going to end up leaving you. Look at Jay's gone. He's doing his own thing. Obviously, him and Jimmy are on the same page now. Same with Wiseman, Paul Heyman. But I like how, there's actually there's actually a power struggle between the both of them, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, because I didn't want to see them, just both shaking hands and then they were going to work together to take down the bloodline. Like I like how even now they don't see eye to eye when it comes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But
And
at the same time, Cody wanted to make sure that Roman had his back, and Roman's like, you know what, you have my word, I'll have your back, but things aren't over between the both of us. The I like the characterization that's being
hmm
done between both of these characters. I like seeing Cody say a couple of things and Reigns say a couple of things because they both had a lot of cases to their arguments when it comes to a lot of the things that they were saying. I don't
Yeah.
see it as a thing where it's like, oh, Roman one up Cody or Cody one up Roman. I thought they were at the same page. They said what needed to be said in order to build that relationship between both of these guys and also building more into the match, because you could put on a good match for me any single time. Like when I watch AEW, I love the matches that they have there because there's a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
good talent over there. And I always look forward to all of the different kinds of matches that's on the product. Same thing with WWE or TNA or New Japan, other companies that I watch as well. But one of the things that really invests me into a match is the story behind it. That's why the story between Adam Page and Swerve Strickland was so good, because there was a rich story behind it. And that's
Mhm.
why what we're seeing right now of Roman and Cody against Solo and Jacob Fatu, they're building a rich story between the both of them so we can sink
Mhm.
our teeth into it, because when something hits, it hits and you
Yeah.
feel it because you see how the story is being told throughout the weeks and throughout the months, so it actually means something. And I just want to take some time to give WWE credit for the cinematography when it comes to this. Like I
Oh my
literally like
God, it was
how like
beautiful.
it literally felt like you were like inside of a movie theater. You had your popcorn, you had your soda, your candy,
Yeah.
nachos, pretzel bites, whatever the case may be. It literally felt like you were inside of a movie theater. You were in like an IMAX theater and you were watching these two in the middle of a movie. Like they had like that face off, and
Mhm.
it literally was like very well produced. And I like how they do something like this because we don't normally see this all the time. So when it happens, it hits. And I
Yeah.
really love how we're getting segments like this because it just takes it just takes pretty much what I'm trying to say is that it pretty much like makes it feel different
Yeah.
when you have a
Well,
different approach to it.
it makes it feel like they're in their world. Like it makes it
Yeah.
feel like the
Oh yeah,
world
no,
is
that's a
lived
good
in. Like
example. That's a
yeah,
good
because
example
it's
because the place that they were
mhm.
in was their world.
Yeah.
Cody's home. Reigns' stadium when he used to play football, and he has a lot of
Mhm.
history there and everything. So it was a place that was personal between the both of them. So that was a good example.
Yeah, yeah, and like it makes their whole universe that they keep touting about, it makes it feel lived in, you know? That's why like having, for example, Jey Uso coming through the crowd every week, like not only just through the crowd, but even through the hallways, we got that not only just with him, but with like Sami Zayn and all them. We had the beat down with The Rock where, he kept repeating Mama Rhodes to Cody Rhodes
Oh
as he was
yeah.
beating him with his belt and all that. Like
Mm.
we got segments like that, and like it's not like going to, for example, I guess it's not like going to a supermarket and throwing this guy around and like pouring milk on him and all that. Like it's not like those levels, but it's good enough levels to like again make it seem like your product exists outside of the building that you're in that night, you know? And it's one of those small things that just benefits the product to no ends. And another thing too that like really benefits the product with like their writing and all that, I like how Roman, because technically he's a baby face. That like
Yeah.
technically he is a face, like and all that. But he's his character has not changed from
Yeah,
being
it's
the tribal
still
chief.
Roman. Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
Roman,
it's still Roman.
which I like.
Like, yeah, it's not like a I'm back here in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, it's pandering to the crowd and like mentioning the local sports team and like things like that. And like or even saying a line like, Cody, I don't like you, but I respect you and I'll welcome your help and all that. No, it was just like Roman saw
Yeah.
Cody and was just like, you know what? I have some stuff I need to say to this guy. And he says it, and then Cody responds. And for Roman, I'm pretty sure he thought that was going to be enough. Just be like, okay, well, all right, give me the thing. So that way, like, we can make this official and all that. But it's like, no, there's just so much more to this story, you know, and so much more to these characters too. Because like we're even starting to see more of like an edge with Cody again. Because
Mhm.
like because Cody remembers all the shit. He remembers all the stuff that was put onto him by the bloodline and all that, and he
Yeah.
conquered and overcame that. And
Yeah.
really, he shouldn't be involving himself in this. But we already had that conversation last week about like why we felt, or at least I felt, that
Hmm.
it's fine that he was, but like it's again, it's just that power struggle. You know, these are two guys, these are two rivals that want to be at the top. They want to be the ones giving the orders. They want to be the one that people look up to and the one that leads the company into these new directions that they're going in.
And I also like the line that Roman said after he left, where he's like, "You're in my way at life."
Mm-hmm.
Because at first he's like, "You're in my
Yeah.
way," and Cody probably at first thought, "Oh, okay, I'm in your
Then
way,"
by all means.
as a way meaning, okay, go. But he meant, no, you're in my way at life.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Which,
liked how he had the last word, because he ended off strong there, and I like that.
I do too. Man, but this segment again was awesome. I thought like it was. If you guys didn't watch it yet, first of all, why are you on this video talking about SmackDown for tonight? So spoiler alert for that. But also just like go take some time and watch it because it's really dang good. Like it's really just good. Man, but like what's even better about this segment though is the fact that we got to see somebody's reaction to this, or at least like
It was the
their
icing on the top.
initial
The
reaction.
ch- it was the cherry on top of it all.
Oh my gosh, yes it was. So after the video plays and all that, we cut back to SmackDown, cut back to the arena, and we see Kevin Owens was watching all of this transpire. He was watching that videotape of it, and Byron Saxton, being the nosy dude that he is trying to get into KO's face and be like, "Hey, so what's your initial reaction to all this?" And like
Hmm.
KO doesn't want any of it. He doesn't. He's trying not to care about it, but like
Mm.
he, he walks away, and then after like a commercial break and some other stuff, he's like, "You know what, Byron? First of all, shut up, but also, I'm just gonna go into the ring and tell my piece." And we don't get that. We don't get him telling his piece.
No, because he ends up getting interrupted by the bloodline, which pretty much sets up our main event for tonight. Yeah, it's literally like Tasmanian Devil. Like like I can think of a couple characters that Tamatanga reminds me of. He reminds me of the Tasmanian Devil. He reminds me of Billy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, because Billy used to do
Mhm.
the exact same shit. So maybe Tamatanga is a big fan of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. If all to him, it was a great show. And he
Yeah.
also reminds me of Ren from Ren and Stimpy. Or Ren always had his random outbursts where he used to get frustrated all the time. You could probably throw Stimpy in there too, when Stimpy was doing all this weird stuff in the show.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the whole swarm of like he's pretty much like a cartoon character. Maybe he was
Mhm.
the original version of the Tasmanian Devil. We just weren't aware of it, and that's probably why he has the characteristics of him. But
Yeah.
he definitely seems to like doing that because he knows he gets a reaction out of people. So I assume that's why he does it. He knows it's a meme. And if you look at how social media is nowadays, memes build a lot of attraction. That's why when you look at
Mhm.
Watkins, when it comes to his thumbnails, he has a lot of memes in there
Yeah, I try my
because
best.
they no, but it builds
Yeah.
attraction. It hits.
Mhm.
And obviously you can see that based on, the attraction.
Yeah.
And with Tamatanga doing the exact same thing. Maybe he's trying to give a bit for us to use in the show. Maybe we have to start off the show by making random noises or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
And I mean, I feel like the rest of them too kind of feed into that as well. I mean, I don't have to say much about Jacob Fatu. He's just a walking meme
Yeah.
himself.
I
you
want to see
know?
him actually like start cutting promos. Like I get the whole bit
Oh
where
yeah.
he's like, I love you, Solo. You're the tribal chief. I get all of that, but I've seen so many clips of Jacob Fatu, and he
Mhm.
knows how to cut a good promo. And I want to see something like that where he grabs them, like he cuts a promo on KO or Cody or whoever the case may be that he's in the
Yeah.
ring with, because I already see a bright future for this guy, but I want to see him taking some roles where,
Mhm.
he grabs the mic because he is the enforcer. So technically he does have the authority to do this. So
Yeah.
I want to see him take the mic and cut promos because I know he has a lot of charisma that
Mhm.
hasn't fully been shown yet within the company. Maybe they're trying to wait to do that, but that's something that I personally want to see down the line. But when it
Yeah.
comes to this main event, I'll admit, at first I wasn't really sold on it because like we discussed before when it came to KL last week, when it came to Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, we've seen it so many times. So at this point, it's kind of like if we see in a match like this, we've seen it already. It's just a different group of people. That's all it
Yeah.
really is at this point. But I will say that the match was entertaining. It was very
Mhm.
good. And I think what really mattered to me personally was what we saw towards the end, which I'll wait to share some thoughts on that
Yeah.
so you could give your thoughts
Well,
on the
like,
match itself. But
yeah, because I mean, that's
basically,
the
I
thing.
just
Yeah. It's like, so, because the match was originally going to be, KO and DIY, because DIY comes out to
yeah,
try, save Kevin and all that. But, when you're trying to save somebody from the bloodline, you should expect them to retaliate immediately, which they do. They end up taking out DIY before they're even able to make their entrance,
yeah,
which brings on the Street Profits to help KO, which I like how, again, it's not like some random team either, because like Street Profits do legitimately have beef with the bloodline because they kind of cost them some tag team gold recently.
that is true.
Yeah.
And
But yeah.
I think like my main I don't know. I think like Jacob Fatu again was the highlight out of this.
Oh yeah. Well, like I even put it in our notes. It's like Jacob, first of all, Jacob Fatu is seriously that guy. Like, I, I
Yeah,
I don't know, however, how best to describe it. He is just that guy. Like, he is that guy that will do anything and everything for you, and do anything and everything to somebody. But it's like he's become the person that he is the one that basically holds the bloodline together. He's the one that defends everybody, because I mean Tomatonga and Tongaloa, they both get their butts whipped by like Kevin Owens and the Street Profits, and it's never until like Fatu gets in the ring and starts just wailing on people that they finally get a one up. So like Jacob is like he is literally the only person able to do anything in the bloodline. Ah, man. But yeah, I mean, I thought the match was fun. Kind of wish it was DIY and Kevin Owens, but I mean,
yeah,
beggars can't be choosers with that. But like, what was it? There were a couple highlights from this. Oh, there was a part where Kevin, he, so the referees, counting because everybody's out of the ring and all that, and Kevin, almost like Randy Orton in a way,
yeah.
he gets in the ring, like he gets in the corner of the ring, like inside the ring, and just kind of like like snake walks to the other
hmm
side.
hmm
And so like he was breaking the count, but also getting it back up on the apron to take somebody else out. So I don't know. I just thought that was really cool to see.
Oh yeah, I thought that was. I mean, he's definitely very smart when he's in the ring
Hmm.
when he's trying to figure out all of these different kinds of strategies, like what we saw last week at Randy Orton. He just got out of the ring, went on the other side, and tagged him in. So I
Hmm.
do like how creative is. I do like how creative KO is whenever he's in these matches. There's always a lot of good spots with that.
Yeah. So, oh man,
Put the
just
meat and
this match
potatoes
was.
now.
Oh my gosh. So it's like, okay. So okay, how do you feel about the match ending in a DQ? How do you feel about that?
I sort of expected it, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because
I'm
realistically,
surprised it didn't
just
happen
judging like
earlier.
how, I mean, realistically, just judging how wild all these
Hmm.
guys are, it was the only outcome I really saw happening.
Yeah,
So
I'm I'm kind of surprised that Kevin didn't go through the table, but
yeah,
I guess that just kind of leads into what we get into because so they basically throw Kevin back into the ring. Bloodline have already taken out Street Profits. They've taken out a DIY that tries to do something. There's not much they can do. They're both injured. Uh, but who's here to come and save the day? Now, I saw your comment in our group chat because I was in the same boat as you. I was just sitting there
yeah,
waiting
because I
for
felt
okay,
it. That's why.
yeah. I'm just like, all right. When are we going to start hearing those voices inside of our head? When are they going to start come to me? And when am I going to start to understand that they talk to me? That didn't happen. Instead, a kingdom came out because Cody Rhodes runs out there with a dang steel chair, able to, even the odds and all that,
You see how he
driving
threw
away.
You see how he threw the chair at Tangaloa?
Yeah, I did. It was good. But then, the teases we got of Kevin Owens finally turning heel. Like I,
We
I
are
thought it
definitely
was gonna
getting it.
happen.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
yeah,
definitely getting. I just feel like they want to save it for a good moment.
yeah. Which I mean, tonight could have been a good
Yeah, it
moment,
could have
but
worked, but I don't know if
yeah.
like they could have happened tonight. But at the same time, I don't know if you would really want to build something with KO and Cody leading
Mhm.
into the Bloodline match right away.
Yeah. Um Man, I thought Kevin was gonna hit him with that chair. Like
No, I
you
did
because
too. It felt
he was
like
in
that.
perfect position for it.
Even like when the show was ending, I thought Triple H was going to do one of those things where he shows the
Same here.
logo and then you end up seeing KO hit Cody anyway. Because I did have that urge in me,
Hmm.
and I feel like we're still getting it because Kevin Owens has a legitimate case as to why he's going to be turning on Cody now. Because if you look at the history that they have between each other, they worked
Yeah.
together for many years now to put an
Hmm.
end to the bloodline, and they went up against people like Jimmy and Jay and Cody. I mean, Jimmy, Jay, Solo, etc. So on. We've seen them go back and forth so many times. I've lost count.
Yeah.
So when you look at that segment that he had at Roman Reigns earlier that night, and you see KO watching the whole thing in his head, which I'm pretty sure Randy Orton would probably be thinking the exact same thing too, which is another person I'm very curious to see his reaction to this.
Hmm.
But you look at Kevin Owens and he has a legitimate case as to like, okay, why am I being friends with this guy if he's doing the exact opposite
Yeah.
of what we were trying to do to begin with, which was to put an end to the bloodline once and for all. So whenever KO turns, it's not like it's not going to come out of nowhere. He
Yeah.
has his cases, which is something I appreciate. There is at least a story being told there that's in place that's probably going to be building
Hmm.
within these next couple weeks or so.
Yeah.
And we'll
And
eventually get
especially when we
that.
get Randy involved.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah. And
yeah,
we'll
because
eventually
like
get
like
that KO heel turn.
yeah, and like you said, this is kind of going to be adding fuel to the Randy fire too, because like he
Yeah.
teams with Kevin Owens, like they're like at least on screen, they're buddies at least. They're
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to say friends, but it's like they at
Yeah.
least give a give enough of a
I
crap for
feel
each other to
I feel
help each
like
other out.
for what we're seeing right now,
Hmm.
they might be on the same page when it comes to Cody, when it comes to their initial reaction as to like, okay, why is our boy doing this? And you could say
Yeah.
the exact same thing about Roman Reigns as well when it comes to The Rock.
Oh yeah.
because this not only affects Cody when it comes to KO and Randy, it also affects Roman Reigns as well whenever The Rock comes back, because you got to keep in mind that The Rock and him work together in order to put an end to Cody Rhodes. So knowing how
Hmm.
Roman Reigns is now working alongside Cody Rhodes now, that's only going to add fuel to the fire whenever he comes back and he turns on Roman Reigns, which also gives him a legitimate reason now to turn on Roman Reigns, because it would be one of those things where it's like you backstabbed the family, you're working with the
Yeah.
enemy now. So I like how it's not just affecting one person, it's also affecting another, which is something I could really appreciate, which
Hmm.
adds more depth to the story overall, which is why I'm not against Roman and Cody working together, because it helps give them a clear direction of where they're going when it comes to a story that's being taken place for the both of them. Because let's say, after Cody separates himself with the whole bloodline thing, now he has to do with KO and Randy, and then
Yeah.
Roman has to deal with everybody else in the bloodline and The Rock now. So now there's more obstacles for them to climb.
Yeah, exactly. And like this will give Cody something to do between now and Mania, and when he eventually, because I mean, I said it last week too. Like Cody holding that title, he's gonna be involved with the bloodline in any way, shape, or form. Like that's just part of the destiny of having the WWE title and all that. Uh but yeah, having KO and Randy turn heel on him again, it makes sense storyline
Yeah.
wise because friends feel like they're being betrayed,
Yeah. I
even though
can't blame them
Cody is
for.
doing it. Yeah, oh yeah, I don't blame them either. Like I wouldn't blame them at all. But it's like I also see Cody's side of it where it's just like, okay, first of all, he needs to assert his dominance in WWE. Like it's I think that's the biggest part of all this is because again it all goes back to Roman's promo from last week saying how this was his show and his ring and all that stuff, and Cody rightfully calling him out on it. It's like, no, this isn't your stuff. This is now mine.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
away. So it's like there's that power struggle going. I don't know. It's just no matter what Cody does, he's going to be involved with the bloodline any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, as long as he's
Yeah.
holding that title.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, there's justification for him joining in the fight. It does make sense, whether you like it or not. It does make sense. Mm, But I don't know. Do you have anything to add for our bloodline storyline of the evening?
No, I think that's all I have to say. I'll
Mm.
save the rest of my thoughts for next week.
Ah, good. Well, next week is not this week. In fact, this week we'll be talking about another title match that we had this week. We had our US title being put on the line against Andrade, LA Knight defending in a pretty dang good match to start the night.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty
Uh
good match.
oh yeah, these two have really good chemistry together because like
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, part of me was a little worried that LA Knight might get overshadowed a little bit, but that's nothing against LA Knight, obviously. It's just like Andrade just has not only a harder hitting style, but he has a more flashy style, I guess
Yeah.
would be the better term.
No,
So it's like,
I can see where you're
yeah.
coming from, because I felt the same way at first when I saw the
Mhm.
match announced. Like, I thought Andrade at first was going to be like the one in control for the most part,
Yeah.
but
But no.
I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this was
Yeah.
this was a pretty even contest too, which I
Oh
was
yeah.
happy about as well. Because like, again, their styles mesh very well with like LA Knight kind of being more of like the brawler kind of guy,
Hmm.
whereas with Andrade, yeah, he has the brawl, the brawling aspect with it, but like he's somewhat of a high flyer. He's at least like quick on his feet and all that. So each of them have their strengths, each of them have their weaknesses and all that. One thing I do want to mention, and I'm glad commentary said this too. Um, Andrade actually made a name for that top rope version of his finisher, the message that he did last week on Carmelo Hayes. Like
Mhm.
when he's on the top rope and he does that, he calls it the final message. So I don't know that I just thought that was kind of neat with that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I like too how like at the beginning and the end of this match, we had this kind of show of sportsmanship from Andrade. And I'm glad too with LA Knight because, like, again, it's kind of like the whole Roman thing again. It's like, okay, he's a face, but
He
he has
still
a bit
acts
of
the
an
same.
edge to him. Yeah,
Yeah.
it like everything has to be on his terms. So like Andrade
Yeah.
tries to go for a handshake. I'm not going to shake your hand before a match, and no, I don't trust that. Which good on you with that one as well. But it's like even at the end of the match, like LA Knight was gonna give him a fist bump. Like that was gonna be his little thing of being like, oh, you did good and all that. Thank you for saving me at one spot, which we'll get into here in a minute. But like Andrade forced a handshake on him, which LA Knight kind of looked confused at. So I'm that segment really made me like kind of stop and ponder a little bit. Like, okay, what's going on here? What are we building towards with LA Knight? Oh man, but what did you think of the match?
I thought it was a very good match. I was really looking forward to this when it was announced
Mhm,
because I had a good idea why they probably wanted to wait on Mello because, like I said before, I do feel like when the time is right, Mello will probably end up taking the title
yeah,
off of LA, and I just feel like that title itself is just tailor fit for Mello to begin with.
mhm,
But I do like the whole match itself. Like we saw the final message, we saw a moonsault that Andrade hit when he was on the top rope and he got out of the ring. I
mhm.
liked the that power slam that LA Knight did on Andrade.
Oh, yeah,
I
that was so
loved
cool.
I love that beautiful elbow drop that LA Knight did because you don't normally see LA Knight doing those spots that
Mhm,
often. So when he does those spots, they look like really cool because it's just
yeah,
something that they take out of the book that comes out of left field. Like, holy shit, LA
mhm.
Knight's hitting moves like that.
I mean,
And
it kind of leads to like something I've kind of been thinking about a little bit because like a lot of people have said in like just the past year they've been comparing Seth Rollins to Randy Savage, and it's like okay, you know what? I get that with the theatrics and everything, but like
Mhm.
man, I don't know if LA Knight's on that level with his in-ring work, but at least with like his promo work and all that. But like some of his moves though are pretty dang good. Like he was accessing his inner macho man tonight.
Oh yeah.
Not only just like that elbow with the show of strength he had. I do wish he was able to get onto the top rope, but I mean things happen, everybody. Ropes
Yeah,
do get slippery and
yeah, that's
all
the
that.
thing. Like I
So
noticed some people making comments on that. I mean, it's no different when we're walking outside and we accidentally trip over a rock or something. It's
yeah.
just it happens. It's not that big of a deal. It didn't really take anything away from me when I was watching the
Mm-mm.
match because it happens. Nobody's perfect. Things happen. Even the best wrestlers sometimes run into situations like that. So that
Yeah.
certain part of the match when he was on top, when he was going on top of the rope to deliver that big that superplex that he normally does, I
Mhm.
didn't have any issues with it.
And I'm glad commentary too made a note about the ropes being slippery and how hot it
Yeah,
was. So
yeah,
I get again, WWE's been doing such a good job of making their universe actually feel like part of our world, you
yeah.
know. So yeah, but so yeah, LA Knight ends up on top with a BFT basically almost out of nowhere because like he he's able to dodge this top rope drop kick that Andrade does, hit the BFT, and that's basically your match. Um, they do the little handshake thing and all that. So like things are basically, they've simmered down a bit, but we're not done with this segment yet because Andrade backstage, nursing his wounds and all
Uh,
that, runs into Carmelo Hayes, who he has some words for him.
Yeah, I wish I could like add a clip on the show, but yeah, I did like that that segment between him and Mello backstage, and at least we're getting a confirmation here that we are indeed getting a best of 7 series between these both, because we had Andrade and Carmelo announced next week, and it's going to be their 6th match of each other, which I assume Mello will get that win, and then we'll have that final match between the both of them, and I'm curious to see where that leads to, but it's good we're getting a best of 7 series between the both of these guys. And probably like my favorite line that I ended up saving as like a meme to add to my phone whenever I'm reacting to something on Twitter or whatever the case may be is I like how Mello, and keep in mind this actually does fit Mello's character, because if you had somebody like I'm trying to think of somebody that this wouldn't really fit. Let's say if you had somebody like Nia Jax. I don't know why I'm thinking of Nia Jax. Say if you had Nia Jax come out of nowhere and say, just put the fries in the bag, bro. It really wouldn't fit. Or somebody like Solo. It really wouldn't fit. But it's like with Mello, it fits him because he's very cocky. He thinks he's all that. He wants to be the top. He wants to be the top dog. So when he goes up to Andrade and says that put the fries in the bag, bro, you're watched. I remember I was sitting in my couch and I was like laughing my ass off. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Oh my gosh, it was. I loved it. and then they had a fight because of it. Because like that's the thing, man. Like Carmelo, he's just like, why is he got to be like that? why is he got to be so antagonistic? Because like the man literally he got thrown into those boxes. Like he got destroyed, and I'm assuming that was because I think I turned away or may have blinked at this part. I'm assuming that it was Andrade's hair that got in the way of that camera, because like when the people in the back finally separated the two, the one camera that was near Andrade had like this like wet stain on it or whatever.
Yeah, I just watched the clip right now. I can't stop laughing. The funny thing about that segment is as he was like beating on him, I just couldn't stop laughing. So even when he was attacking him, I started cracking up.
Yep. Someone likes violence on people, but oh man. But yeah, so I'm excited for number 6. Now, how do you feel? Should in the next week we have to build to this 6th match of theirs? Do you think we're nearing the time where stipulations should get involved?
Yes, and I would hope the 7th match has a stipulation, because it looks like next week it's just gonna be a regular match, which is fine because they always put on great matches of each other. But I feel like for the final match, because now it's 2 and 3.
Yeah.
No, well, now it's 3 and 2 because Andrade has 3 wins and Mello has 2. So I feel like Mello, like I said, Mello's gonna get the win next week, and then you're gonna end up having the final match, which is like the 7th match between both of them. And I feel like a stipulation should be involved. I'm not entirely sure what sort of stipulation it would be. I can't really see them doing a last man standing kind of match. But I can definitely see them doing potentially a street fight, maybe. I feel like a street fight would work out pretty well for them.
Yeah, a street fight would be fine.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, because you don't really need a cage match for it, because nobody's really interfering with it. Maybe like, I mean, I guess the only other thing I can think of right now, well, no, I guess maybe not. I was gonna say like a 2 out of 3 falls match, but then like we're already kind of doing a series that's kind of based off of that. But like, well, maybe you could do like, man, if Triple H was feeling ballsy, if he was feeling it, we could do a 3 stages of hell match.
Yeah, we could.
Like,
but actually, you know what I'm thinking? I think I think we talked about this with we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I think their seventh match should be on Bad Blood
Oh
because
yeah.
so we have next Friday, which is the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be the sixth match, and then next week it'll be October 4th. Which, if they want, they could do the match there, but at the same time,
Could.
their feud also falls under the category of bad blood because they do have bad blood between each other. And it's not like
Yeah.
it's just a match just lumped together just for the hell of it. So I could
Mm-hmm.
definitely see that being a match on the card. I would not be against it because I feel like
Yeah.
the amount of work that they've been putting in for the past couple weeks, I feel like they definitely do deserve a spot on the card. I'm not against
Yeah.
them being on the card.
And it's kind of hard to even place them on the card because one thing, and I actually was just thinking about this when you brought that up. It's like WWE's cards, they're kind of built around like mainly title matches with like one, maybe a second regular match, or like, match between just two people, no titles or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of want to look into that too, with like kind of noticing that pattern to see if that maybe changes anything,
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, again, this was a fun match with LA Knight and Andrade. LA Knight again picking up the win as he should right now.
Yes.
He should be winning a lot and defending the title against actual legitimate opponents that could take the title from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But all right, well, we're gonna go ahead and move on to
Oh
our
God.
next part. We had Giovanni Vinci versus Apollo 2, Electric Boogaloo. Where to begin here? Like,
Uh
okay. Okay. You know what? Let's backtrack. Let's rewind the clock back, what, like 2 weeks or so, when we were first initially talking about this, and
yep.
Drop, our good old friend Drop here, he went on a rant about it, which rightfully so. You were upset, which, yes, you should have been if you didn't like something like that. That makes sense. And then, you had me being like, okay, well, what, let's let it play out. Let's see what happens. And yeah, well, okay. We saw the beginning stages of what's to come. What? Like, the match, first of all, the match was very short. It was like, what, maybe 3 minutes?
Yeah,
Maybe?
wasn't long at all. Like they weren't really able to like really
Do
do
anything.
anything that like there
Yeah.
wasn't even any spots to really call out, be like, oh my God, look at that superplex
Hmm.
that Apollo Crews did to Vinci when he went on the top rope, or look at that suicide dive outside the ring that Vinci did, or whatever. Like there
Yeah.
wasn't really any big spots to really say about this match. And
Well, the thing too is just like, Giovanni Vinci was on top all of that match. Like,
yeah,
Apollo barely got any offense in.
I know. That's my whole issue with this, because
Like,
one of the things that I'm not a fan of is the fact that we took some time to build up Vinci when it comes to all these vignettes. And
mhm,
usually when you see things like that, you're like, okay, this is a repackaging. We're going to be seeing
mhm,
this character in a new light, which, all to him, because we saw that he got separated with Imperium, and we now see Kaiser doing his own thing, and
mhm,
people would be like, okay, we're probably going to see some cool run with Vinci. He's going to be putting on a lot of good matches, and he's going to be getting the recognition that he deserves. That's what I initially thought heading into this. But
right.
then seeing what happened the first time, I wasn't a fan of that, because I'm like, okay, why are you hyping up this guy? And then he looks like a clown towards the end, and then we do nothing with it the following week, which I guess is fine because that was the premiere. You wanted to put a lot more focus on Roman and
Mhm,
everybody else. Okay. But with this match, it doesn't make it look any better because I can't say, well, at least there's a little 2 to 3 more minutes of this match. Like there really
No,
wasn't
there
anything
was.
to pull out of that. And
Yeah.
Giovanni looks even worse now because now you're putting it into the people's heads where this guy is a loser. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying
Exactly.
that I'm not saying that because I'm trying to shit on the guy or anything like that. It's
No, it's the
just when you
booking.
go to
It's the booking.
yeah,
Like.
because it's like when you go to these shows, you're appealing to a casual audience. So
Mhm.
whatever they see on the show, they're gonna take that at face value. And that's no disrespect to them. That's just how
Yeah.
it is with some fans, where they just want to enjoy the product for what it is. They don't want to be analytical like we are, trying to, take some time to fully analyze what's going on when it comes to certain storylines or matches or etc.
Yeah.
So when you have this guy coming out every single week looking like a joke, these people aren't going to care. And it sucks because I know Giovanni can put on good matches. If people
Yeah.
saw them in NXT when he was with Kaiser and Imperium, that's a good example. Or you can see when Kaiser was doing his own thing in NXT. That's another example. He is talented. He knows how to move around and do all these different kinds of things.
Yeah.
But the way that he's being booked right now, people aren't going to take him seriously, which is why when you make a good first impression, it's supposed to matter. Like when you brought up Lyra, I'm gonna use like Lyra for an example. You bring
Yeah.
up Lyra from NXT. She put on a good first impression because you used her to make her look legitimate by bringing her all the way towards the finals for the Queen of the
Mhm.
Ring tournament. So that shows the audience, okay, we can get behind this girl. She feels legit and there's a lot of potential out of her. She might have not won the match at the Queen of the Ring, but she at least put herself in the position where she was able to make it to the finals and she was actually able to be put in a special light.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to push a lot of these upcoming talent. And Giovanni's been on the main roster for quite some time now, but same case goes to him. That's how you showcase these talent. You repackage them. You got to make sure it hits. You got to make sure that the
Mhm.
people care. Casual audience doesn't really seem to care about this. No reaction when he comes out.
Yeah.
Very, and the music doesn't help as well. Very generic, and I really want to see him thrive because I don't want to come on here every single week and have conversations like this when it comes to certain segments that we cover on the channel. I want to make
Yeah.
sure that, I'm giving positive feedback when it's needed, but I can't give positive feedback and be optimistic and sugarcoat it because it doesn't really make sense based on what I'm seeing with Giovanni right now, which is why it's kind of hard for me to really like. I'm honestly just struggling to even think about things to say in this segment because you really
Yeah.
don't know what to see out of this. Like, what are we gonna get next? Like another match between him and Apollo, and then the same thing's gonna happen again, or maybe this time Vinci's gonna get lucky and actually roll up Apollo and get his revenge on him. It's like that's
Mhm.
not gonna really do anything to me because I want there to be a set path for him. Because
Yeah.
this guy could have easily, if he was built up properly, this could have been a potential challenger for LA Knight's United States Championship. I could see
Yeah.
LA Knight and Vinci in a match for the United States Championship, but I can't see that now based on how he's booked.
Yeah. And especially like, oh god, especially tonight, because like tonight really irked me with it. Because it's like he was on top the whole entire night. And all it took, like, there wasn't even a distraction. There wasn't like rope leverage or like pulling the tights or anything. No, this was a clean win for Apollo. Like clean to
Yeah.
the point where like uh I don't know, man. It was just because the whole time Vinci was like on top of it. He was on top of Apollo. He was like beating him up. He was like wearing him down. Like he was starting to look pretty good. But then like again, the surprise roll up. And it's like, what are we doing here? Because like even even with them trying to have um Vinci attacking Apollo at the end of the match to try and get his heat back. It's like, okay, that's cute, but it's not doing anything. And like the crowd even weren't like, there were some people that were giving boos, but like it really wasn't that much of anything. He wasn't really getting
No.
much of a reaction on any side of the
No.
spectrum.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, even if you're not a face and you're getting cheers, one of the other ways for you to get over is if you have the crowd booing you. But it
Yeah.
seems like as soon as that match started and both of them entered the ring, it was just complete silence. It's almost like you can hear crickets.
Mhm.
There's just no reaction. Like, this is pretty much what you call a point of the show where it's like, if you walked away and came back, you weren't really missing much. And this
Yeah.
isn't me like showing any disrespect to Vinci or Apollo, but you're not giving us anything to grip onto to make us feel invested, because I
Yeah.
can't really see any storyline here. Like, Giovanni losing matches and making himself look like a loser isn't a storyline to me. It just
No.
seems like there isn't any plan. And I'm not sure if you saw this walk-ins, but I
Mhm.
saw this online from WrestleVotes that the first match that Giovanni had, and I believe even today, people backstage weren't happy with the reception when
Oh
it
yeah.
came to how everything was orchestrated. And I'm thinking in my head, if you're not happy with how everything was orchestrated there, then why is this the presentation we're getting on the show?
And see that's why like I kind of have an idea with this match. I feel like this was gonna be a repeat of 2 weeks ago. I feel like this was supposed to be like another quick win for Apollo, but they decided I don't want to say last minute, but because that implies, how we used to have our last minute changes to these shows and all that. But like I feel like there was a change last minute where it's just like, okay, you know what, Giovanni, do a little bit of stuff, do just a little bit here and there, and then you're gonna lose very quickly to a roll up. But it's
Yeah,
like even then, like it did almost nothing for him.
I know.
Because again, even with the beatdown after the match, like it just didn't do anything, and it sucks because I didn't get a chance to really watch him in any of his single stuff. So it's like I would like to know what he has and what he can
Yeah.
do, but
Even if you want to get
no,
like new people into him too, it's like, oh shit,
yeah,
let's see what this guy's capable of, but you're not giving him the chance.
yeah. And plus, like the other thing too with it is it's like, okay, if this is supposed to be like a comedy act or something, you're not really writing it or booking it to be a comedy act. Like
No,
there's a difference between like being the possible, and I say possible, but like the possible, um, shoot, what was I going with that? Something with
I'm trying.
the comedy acts. Oh, now I
What,
remember. Okay,
what Chelsea
it
Green?
yes, it was it was gonna be Chelsea Green. It's just like, you could be Chelsea Green because she's really good at that. And because not only is she, she can go in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
she can do some stuff in the ring, but it's like she's so good at what she does at her job, like the character work with it, that it doesn't matter if she loses fairly quickly. It doesn't matter if like she gets squashed or anything, because hey, she's a heel. That's her
Mm-hmm.
gimmick. That's her thing. And like
Yeah.
it should be the same with Giovanni. Like if you're gonna go that route with like these quick pinfalls and all that stuff, like commit to that then. And tonight they didn't. Tonight was just like it was like a wet fart. It was like a wet
Pretty
fart,
much.
you know. And I mean, hell, we're putting in a lot more time than the match even did. So that should
I know.
really say something about like what they were doing tonight. Mm. But you know what? I I think it's time for us to just kind of move on from that.
Oh yeah,
I think we're
definitely.
gonna I think we're gonna move on. And I mean, again, we could do the whole wait and see thing, but
But
y'all are gonna
I
have to
think I'm
do
past
something
that.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, because that's the thing. Like, I know that was my argument against you. Like, when this originally happened because, hey, it had just started, blah, 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 all that stuff. But like, this is the moment I was talking about back then. We're just like, okay, there's going to be a moment where it could make or break this idea. And guess what? You guys kind of broke it. Thanks for that,
Mm-hmm.
Man, but from from one story with well, I don't want to say no story because there is a story,
Yeah,
but like
I do like.
from
I
one
do like.
story. Oh, go ahead.
I said, actually, on a legit story.
Yeah, like a legit, like actual thing to sink our teeth into. We had Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton taking on Bayley and Naomi, where if Bayley and Naomi won, hey, one of them would get a title match. And if they lost, the one who got pinned would have to leave SmackDown. And I like the wrinkle we got. Like this is why I asked the question earlier about like with Carmelo and Andrade, because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you added the stipulation, it makes it a little different.
Yep.
This is why, because like during the day today, we got announced that this tag team match was going to become a tornado tag team match, which
Yep.
already the shenanigans would ensue in your mind, being like, okay, what's going to happen? How are they going to do this? Because like now you kind of gave a good leeway to get what we got, or at least kind of get what we got or wanted. With Bayley possibly taking on Nia Jax. But like now we're getting the wrinkle with like Naomi might be involved and Tiffany Stratton still has the briefcase. But like this match was fun. We'll talk about the match here first. I thought the match was fun. A lot of good double team moves from mainly from Bayley and Naomi, who at one point pull out a freaking 1D.
That was pretty
I
cool.
saw that shit. I was like, oh.
There's also a
that's
move
cool.
that Nia and Tiffany did on the top rope where like Tiffany, I believe, did I think it was a brain. She did something. I don't know. Remember when they I forgot who was in the corner. They had one of them in the corner and then Tiffany was there and she did like almost like a neck breaker or something. I don't know if you know what I'm referring to. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it was, but I know I remember seeing her doing a flip, that team move, combo move with Nia.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that one looked really good.
Oh, yeah, that was another spot I liked too.
Yeah, but like there were a lot of like double team moves. There was a lot of like good spots too in this match. Like there was one point this actually kind of shocked me too, because like normally when you get like kind of smaller people facing off against a bigger person, you have the moment where like, oh, they try to lift them and it takes them forever to do it. Bayley and Naomi just like at one point they flipped over Nia as she was like running towards them. They flipped her over and had her be in jail, like not in jail, sorry. Like they legitimately like flipped her over with ease. Like it kind of took me out. I saw that, I was just like, wow, they didn't struggle with that at all. They just lifted her up like she was nothing together. Like it was that was bonkers for me. But so yeah, as the match is going on, we're getting double team moves from both teams and all that stuff. But it's not until there's one spot here where like Tiffany Stratton's gonna, break up a pinfall, do the swanton bomb and all that.
She hits Nia, huh?
She hits Nia. Yeah, oh yeah. There's more seeds planted because, like, we had the stuff earlier in the night, which we'll touch on here in a minute.
Yes.
But yeah, Tiffany hits that old swanton onto Nia, gets the 1D, I think, after that for her troubles, and then there's a double pin. Bayley and Naomi both pinning Nia Jax. So like now we don't really have a number one contender, but yeah. So how do you feel about this match before we get into like the story aspects of everything?
So I was like, jumping into this match at first, I was very interested to see what sort of direction we were going to go down with this, because I was very confused with the stipulation that was laid out last week, because I was like, okay, how is this going to work? Because you're saying whoever pins Naya or Tiffany ends up getting the opportunity to face Naya at Bad Blood. And I'm trying to think, it's like, how are you going to come to a proper conclusion? Because if it's like a regular match where you're tagging Bayley's tagging Naomi in or Naomi's tagging Bayley in, if you put them in that scenario, if that stipulation on the line, knowing that they have a title opportunity, then they're not going to want to tag each other in. It's just going to be Bayley at the rope the entire time, or it's going to be not Naomi at the rope the entire time, and it's just going to be no cooperation because they want that title shot. And if I was in that situation, let's say me and you were in like me and you were teeing up against the Bloodline.
Yeah.
And let's say the same stipulation was put on us, where let's say, for example, it was me and you, and Jacob Fatu was the champion, and he was there with Tamatanga, something like that. Let's say the same rules were laid out, and if I pinned him or you pinned him, then you would get that title shot at Bad Blood. If it was a regular tag match, I wouldn't tag you, and I wouldn't expect you to tag me in either, because you would want that title shot to yourself. So I like how Nick Aldis made the change to the match, where he made it a tornado tag match, where a match like that is pretty much like, okay, both teams are in the ring and all teams are qualified to make a pin. You don't have to tag anybody or anything. It's pretty much winner takes all sort of match. So I like how this was put into. I like how the match was changed, so it flowed better and it made a lot of sense. And then me and you discussed, okay, the possible result, because of what Nia said earlier to Tiffany, where she's like, if Tiffany, if you lose tonight, maybe you should leave. We sort of had that idea flow in our heads, like, okay, Nia is more than likely going to take the pin.
Yeah.
Because usually when somebody says something like that, usually the opposite thing ends up happening, and it ends up happening to them.
It ends up backfiring on them.
So she ended up getting pinned by both of them at the same time. And because of the kind of match it is, there isn't any rope breaks. So they both pinned Nia at the same time. And now it's going to be a one-on-one match between Bayley and Naomi next week. So now I'm starting to think, like, okay, where are we going with this? Because realistically, you could have kept it the way it is, because like Nick Aldis says, they both earned a title opportunity. You could have just done the triple threat there. So now on the top of my head, it's kind of making me think, like, now is that pin worth it that they did?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, why are we doing the one-on-one match now? Like, is that going to end up getting thrown out the window and we still get the triple threat next week then? Like, because if that's the case, like, why not just have them both be the number one contenders and then use next week to just build to the story, like, through promos and all that,
Yeah.
Like that's the part, like, besides Giovanni Vinci, this might be the other thing that kind of made me go, huh? What? Okay. Like, I don't know, just I didn't quite understand that part of it with the double pinfall and all that. Like,
yeah, I didn't either. But I would have just kept it as the triple threat now, but now it seems like there was really no point of that. So I guess we have to see, like, this is what I'm thinking in my head now. So we had the result tonight where you could realistically just make that a triple threat and have it over and done with. And now you can just deal with that, with being in that position where it's like, oh, now my title's at risk now, because they could pin each other and I could lose it at that. So now she's pretty much in a situation where it's like a lose-lose sort of thing with her. So she has like the odds stacked against her. It's not like a regular one-on-one match. Now you got two girls after her now. So if we are going to be getting a winner out of this and it ends up being a one-on-one match, I would hope it goes down that direction, because if I see something happening next week where it's like there's a disqualification, Tiffany and Nia Jax come out, and then you end up turning it into a triple threat. And then I'm gonna ask the question, why didn't you keep the result from the tag
Yeah.
match?
Yeah, because like that was, and especially like how the pin was, like it was done really well too. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, now we're gonna kind of waste that almost. Yeah, I don't know. It
Yeah,
just kind of
because
it
doesn't make
feels
sense.
weird.
It's like it
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. It's like you gave us a reason why it would be a triple threat match right there. They both pin Nia. Okay, make it a triple threat.
yeah,
But doing a one-on-one, and if there is no concrete winner, if there's no Bayley versus Nia or Naomi versus Bai, if it's a disqualification, then first, why did this match to begin with, and why couldn't you just let things run its course and just build up to the
yeah,
next pay-per-view and just have Tiffany and Nia, build their story more by Nia coming out next week saying, because I would actually like if it was like if they just kept the triple threat the way it is, and then Nia can come to Tiffany next week and be like, it's because of you that I'm in this situation now. If you didn't do that
hmm,
swanton bomb on me, I wouldn't have been in the position I am to get pinned and lose course of what I was trying to do. I mean,
yeah,
there's like a clear cut story right there. Tiffany putting the odds against Nia Jax. Now there was a clear cut story because now you're building more tension between the both of them.
hmm, yeah. Especially with like Nia, because like she's kind of not having any of what Tiffany's putting down either.
Yeah,
Like you could kind of tell just when they were in the back, like with Tiffany talking shit on people. Nia was just like, okay, that's great and all, but just stay out of my way. Like kind of
yeah.
like what Roman said to Cody earlier. It's just like you're in my way of life. Like stop that. Like go away. Nobody
Another
wants you
thing,
here,
another thing I was
but we
thinking
do.
of too. It's like at the same time, why would they really go out and cause a DQ if Nia wasn't too fond of what Tiffany did this week? Because
Um,
if I was Nia, I would kind of want to be like, just Ju- just just stay backstage, something like that. Don't
yeah,
don't get involved, don't do anything. Because if I was in a situation like that and I got the odds stacked against me, but like, you know what, Tiffany, go away. I don't want you to do anything. Just go off, do your own
yeah,
thing. You want to record your TikToks or create a video, whatever you want to do, just go off and do your own thing. Don't get involved. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, because I mean, we've seen it in the past before where it's like, oh, the heels are gonna make sure they don't face anybody at this pay per view. Oh, now it's a multi man match, so like they could go down that route, but like again, it's more of like the logic, like you were getting at. It's just like, okay, why would you do that? I mean,
Yeah.
you've already kind of proven to yourself that you've beaten Bayley before, and you could probably do it again. I can't
Yeah.
recall the last time Nia and Naomi had a match,
Yeah, I
but I
can't
mean,
remember.
I'm pretty sure the same thought applies there, where it's just like you're nothing compared to me, Naomi. So I could beat you easily. So like it could be like a cockiness
Yeah.
kind of thing too. But
Plus,
like,
like,
yeah.
no, you can continue and I'll add on
No,
after.
I mean, I was just gonna say, just like why would they attack both Bailey and Naomi? I mean, it could just be like, oh, we're gonna injure both of them, so there'll be
Yeah.
no challenger next week. Like,
Yeah.
it could be that, sure, but it's like
They should know how their
that's
boss is by now.
yeah, like, and that's never stopped any GM in the past before to
Yeah,
make
because
any match like that a triple threat match or a fatal four way or whatever.
if they end up making decisions like that and they put it into their own hands, then the GM makes it worse and they give
Yeah,
them a result of, okay, now you have to go against two of these girls.
yeah, exactly. So
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
looking at my notes real quick because again, this match was really fun.
Oh yeah, it was.
Like tornado tag matches are a lot of fun, and especially like okay, what one thing I do like about WWE ever since the new regime started is like even if we get like the same kind of match in a night, they each always have been feeling different. And that's kind of how I felt with this tornado tag match. Like there was a lot more like double team moves. There was a lot more like isolating one opponent from the team and all that with with big moves and all that. But there was also like secrets going on and all that. So it's like, okay, this is good. This is good. We're doing good here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say beyond that. I mean, I'm gonna be curious how this is gonna end up with Bayley and Naomi next week. Whether we actually do get a definitive winner. If we do get a definitive winner, I'm not gonna lie. I would maybe at this stage I would rather Naomi do it, just because like she hasn't really gotten too many opportunities like that since coming back. But I mean, the story with Bailey's there though. Moreover, so
Yeah, that's the thing.
yeah.
Because, like,
Mm,
realistically, if you looked at it like this, um, it should just be a continuation of Bailey and Nia, considering that
yeah.
Bailey automatically gets a rematch anyway because she lost her title. And usually
Mhm,
the rule of thumb is okay, if you lose your title, you get that rematch clause that you can use once to try to get it back.
yeah. So and I don't know why she's not using that, but that's besides the point. I mean, that was basically SmackDown. I mean, not a lot of segments from this show, but we did have a lot of good follow through and a lot of just, stories pressing on and moving forward and all that, which I always appreciate when we get to do that. And especially with things like, I mean, bloodline storylines back and all that, which is great. Uh, the stuff with KO is awesome. I'm looking forward to all of that stuff. Our mid card things, our title pictures, LA Knight. I'm curious if he's going to have another opponent before Carmelo Hayes comes out, because it
Yeah.
seems like him and Andrade are still like kind of at each other's throats. So I'm wondering if we're
Yeah.
going to shove somebody else in there with LA Knight,
That's why it's kind
or
of hard to think.
yeah, because like yeah, I don't know where they're going to be going with that. I mean, maybe that would be turned into a triple threat. I think I've seen that been going around lately. So
I mean,
yeah,
there's definitely a story there if they want to insert
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, let's see what else. U.S. title, Giovanni Vinci stuff. Kind of, I've touched enough on that. Just if you're gonna be a comedy act, make them funnier. I'm sure Giovanni Vinci has the chops for that, like the acting chops for that. But just let him be like that. It's fine. Let them fly. And of course, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton taking on Bayley and Naomi. Good match. Really, really good, fun match overall. But like, yeah, I thought it was really good. I don't know what do you think of SmackDown overall?
So I thought SmackDown was a pretty good show. I did enjoy probably Cody and Roman's segment the most because I loved how we were adding more fuel to the fire when it comes to okay, how are these two going to operate with one another? How these two guys are going
Hmm.
to work alongside each other. And I loved how we just had that whole segment building to that and get a better understanding of how both of these guys look at one another. And with the Bailey Tiffany match, I I'm just curious to see where it goes because you have an outcome there.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping, like I said, it doesn't end up turning into a triple threat anyway, because you already got your answer here tonight. So if we end up getting a result like that next week because of the disqualification between Bailey and Naomi, then it kind of just makes that match pointless to begin with.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. LA Knight, LA Knight, Andrade, Carmelo just lumped all of them together, and I'm interested in another match of Andrade and
Hmm.
Carmelo Hayes definitely getting a best of 7 series. Hopefully, LA Knight has a challenger in the meantime, or maybe he inserts himself in here or whatever. Not
Yeah.
entirely sure with that. And probably probably the last thing I will touch on is probably with Cody and KO. I do like
Hmm.
how KO is tied into the story now. So now KO has a legitimate reason to turn. on
Yeah.
Cody, because you also had that story brewing before when it came to Bash in Berlin, when both of these guys are going up against one another, and you had that whole thing being brought up about, okay, KO turning on his friends. Now KO has a reason to turn on his friends. So if you see him turn on you and you're like, KO, why'd you do that? I mean, you already got your answer right here. You're pretty much working with the enemy, and
Yeah.
KO isn't really fond of that. It's almost like betrayal in a way, and it just makes everything that they did together pointless now that you're working with the guy that you wanted to take out for the longest time. And KO definitely has a lot of things to say about that when it comes to the history he has with Roman and everybody else to begin with. But yeah, like I said, I thought it was a pretty good show, and let's see what happens next week.
And seeing what will happen next week, we shall, because we're only like 2 weeks away from Bad Blood. So hopefully everybody's getting ready for that and all that. But hey, that was our show tonight. That was SmackDown. That was Weebs of the Ring podcast. That was episode 67 of the podcast, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, we've hit the end of everything. So as you can see, scrolling down below, got our Twitter handles on there, at least for me and Drop, and also for the AniMa W3 Studio main Twitter. And for any content that you want to see of mine and Drops, of our individual stuff, our links are going to be in the description down below. I know it's been another week for you with content. What have you got coming out this coming up week?
As of now, I am not sure. So I'm gonna take the weekend to brainstorm and figure out exactly what I'm gonna do. So as of right now, it's probably gonna be a surprise. I got what I needed done throughout the week. Very happy I was able to get that content out there, and I'll just try to figure out something. I'm pretty sure I'll think about something before Monday, but I'll just take the time to relax, enjoy my 2 days off before I have to go with that full week again. So
until you have to go back to babysitting again.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, I guess for mine, it's gonna be something new, something different, something modern. And no, it's not the internet for all you musical theater people out there who know what I was quoting. No, it's gonna be One Piece related. It's something new that I've kind of wanted to try for a couple weeks now. So we're gonna see how it goes, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. Be on the lookout for that. All my content comes out on Wednesdays, like around 11 p.m. EST. So be on the lookout for that. Again, all of our links are down in the description below. But again, that has been the Weebs of the Ring podcast. So I'm just going to take some time right now to thank all of you out there for taking time out of your day to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, why not do exactly what we just told you guys to do? Be sure to check out, all of our links again down in the description, all that stuff. We are known as AniMa W3 Studio on all social media platforms. Just remember, that's we with a 3. Also use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring to interact with us about anything regarding wrestling before, during, or after our shows. Feedback is always appreciated, as we are nothing without you tuning in. Weebs of the Ring is presented by AniMa W3 Studio. Thanks to our production team of Vash, Watkins, Drop This Box, Rome, and Jokester, as well as special thanks to JB and Abe. Thank you for joining us, and remember, as always, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night. Have a good rest, everybody. It's the weekend. Be sure to rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul, and we will see you on Monday for another episode of the Weebs of the Ring podcast. Enjoy your stay.
Have a good night, guys.